Defense! No, it's Rudy Gay! No! 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 Not this guy! Not this guy! No! Oh my God! You fucking asshole! No!
What's going on, everybody? As you can see, we upped our game a little bit. This time we have an intro video to the best basketball podcast in the Western Hemisphere. Ball Don't Lie, you already know what it is. I'm Hunter Pitcoff. I'm live from Suffolk County, Long Island. Matt Szczypiorski, who's live from Quinnipiac University in a dorm room?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes, I am. I'm in Hamden, Connecticut. I'm in a dorm room. Going back to freshman year, I guess.
Man's not allowed to bring in a toaster oven, but it's all right. We'll bring the heat here today on Ball Don't Lie. As you know, it is the day before, I guess, regular season eve of the NBA. We're going to be tipping off 2 games tomorrow. The Milwaukee Bucks will be having their ring ceremony against the Brooklyn Nets. That game will be at 7:30. And then following, we got a West Coast matchup between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Golden State Warriors at 10 p.m. Matt, what's kind of the big headlines? What are you looking forward to in these games?
Well, I think the big storyline heading into this game will be, I'm sure, Kyrie Irving with the Nets. The whole situation is ridiculous. And now, they thought they might have him for away games, so he might be able to play in this game. But as it turns out, he will not be available for any game. So that'll be interesting to see. Also, the Bucks getting their rings is a huge thing. I'm sure TNT will do a good job with that. And then Lakers, Warriors, 2 teams that are kind of like new look situations. The Warriors trying to rebound from a tough start last year, but the Lakers obviously adding Russell Westbrook and getting rid of some guys and adding pretty much every 35-year-old man who still plays in the NBA to their roster. So it'll be interesting to see those 2 rosters, how they shape up in that first game.
I don't know if you I saw this meme the other day, or maybe it was just a tweet. It was like the Lakers roster constructions, like if you do my GM in like 2K15, like as you know, they got a lot of retro guys there, but a lot of guys who can still play. Golden State Warriors too. They bring Andre Iguodala back. He'll be making Lakers I think are home, so I think he'll be making his homecoming in the following game. But we got the Golden State Warriors. They're retooled. And Matt, you kind of segued into our next segment here, leading off the show with Kyrie Irving, because this guy just likes to be talked about, I guess. Just to clear some things for the record, there's a lot of misinformation out there. And as big day journalists that we are, Matt, we have to make sure that, we cover everything and make sure the facts are there for the people. So for the record, the NBA is not requiring anyone to be vaccinated at all, but it becomes, let's just say, more difficult to be vaccinated if you're not vaccinated to kind of go about your business. Is New York City, their mandate is prohibiting Kyrie Irving from playing home games. And then the Nets doubled down and were like, we're not going to get, part-time Kyrie. You're a full-time employee here. So it's all or nothing. You're not allowed to practice with us. You're not allowed to play until you get your shots. And basically, Kyrie also took it to the gram to inform, the world or whatever he wants to call it, that he's not retiring. But it's also reported that the Nets might not even extend him. It'll be interesting because he is eligible for an extension today. 11:59 is the deadline. We'll see if the Nets get it done. It's not looking like it. But Matt, what do you make about this whole Kyrie situation? How do you think it trickles down to the Nets here?
Well, Kyrie is like the ultimate drama queen, like you said in the beginning. He just wants to be talked about. And he's, from his opening, his media day presser where he was on Zoom and everybody else was in person, he's like, I don't want to be a distraction. I don't want to be a distraction. Really, Kyrie? Because if you didn't want to be a distraction, I think you would be at media day in person. You would get vaccinated and you would protect yourself and protect your teammates and protect your family. The dude's an absolute moron. He's a quack. I shout out to the Nets for making a tough decision, but I think the right decision to say, you're not going to be a part-time player for us. Either you're all in or you're all out. And now it's all on Kyrie, whether he comes back or whether he doesn't. It honestly is a very, very bad look for Kyrie Irving to say the things that he's saying, to say, I'm a voice for the voiceless. And the voiceless is like, we don't really want you talking for us, Kyrie.
The anti-vaxxers.
You said the earth was flat. You're kind of crazy. It's become an unfortunate situation where it's become political yet again. And it's just not a political issue. It's a human issue. And, I think a lot of us have said that from the start, and Kyrie Irving has fed into the conspiracy theories and all of that. And he
doesn't believe in this thing right here.
Yeah,
he thinks it's a little more like this.
Yeah. There you go. But yeah, he looks like a dumbass right now. He really does. And he's getting ridiculed for it, and rightfully so, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, I guess, on the whole vaccine stuff. Me and Matt are fully vaccinated, for the record. So
I've got the Bill Gates juice, yeah.
Yeah, we got those microchips right in our brains, and we are being watched and controlled as we speak. But because Kyrie wasn't the only one, but I think a good example is Andrew Wiggins for the Golden State Warriors. Matt's got to turn the lights off. All right.
It was too glary.
It was a little glary. I want to see your beautiful smile. Looking at Kyrie Irving here, Andrew Wiggins is a good example. I guess he was on that anti-vax train too. State of California has similar, if not even more strict rules than New York does in terms of, what you can do and what you can't do.
Yeah, they have to be fully vaccinated. In New York, you only need one shot.
Yeah. And so for Andrew Wiggins, he plays for the Warriors, of course. He wasn't allowed to play in home games from either. And plus, if you think of it this way too, there's 4 teams in California. So that's 6 more games he can't play. Kyrie Irving, same thing with the New York Knicks. He couldn't play in those games either. So, because obviously they're in the same city. So looking at Andrew Wiggins, he's like, you know what? I'm just going to suck it up. I'm just going to get the vaccine and just go about my business and, I guess sacrifice my own opinions for the betterment of the team. The one thing about Kyrie Irving, I love him as a basketball player, but he's always been about himself. It's never been about the team with him. The only years he was sane is when he had LeBron with him, and that's because LeBron can bring out the best of any player. So once LeBron left, Kyrie's kind of going this downward trend. And it's just interesting because I think the Nets are still a great team because, look, they got James Harden there too with Kevin Durant. They still got 2 of the top 6, 7 players in basketball. They're still a championship caliber team. But not having Kyrie sucks, especially since you're not going to be able to get anything for him. So he's just holding the back his teammates. And no matter what Steve Nash says, no matter what Katie says in the media, they're pissed off. There's no way they're not.
I mean, obviously they are pissed because, the whole reason Kevin Durant is in Brooklyn is because of Kyrie Irving. Like, he wanted to go play with Kyrie. And now the fact that he's just not playing for this stupid reason is ridiculous. And it'll be interesting to see what Brooklyn does. I don't know if they'll end up trading him because there are rumors out there that Kyrie would retire if the Nets traded him, which is, again, downright foolishness. But I think you brought up a good point, too, about Kyrie Irving saying that, he's been about himself. He's been selfish from the day he got in the spotlight. And it was the same thing even 10 years ago. Look back at his only year at Duke. He played like 5 games. And then sat out the rest of the year with an injury that really wasn't all that bad, but he played it off like it was because he didn't want to play and he didn't want to go to class and he just wanted to go to the NBA. And now he's here and now he doesn't want to play basketball again. So Kyrie has been a headache of a story for the better part of probably 2 years now, especially last year where he missed a chunk of games as well because he was out doing whatever Kyrie wants to do and didn't feel like basketball was that important at that time. I mean, he's just an attention whore is what he is.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Matt, let's not forget last season, he just stopped showing up to work. If you stop showing up to work with any other job, if you're not a basketball player, you will get fired. Yeah. And so, unfortunately, the Nets firing him means they lose like $80 million or whatever the clause would be. So, they're like, maybe not. But, yeah, I mean, this whole Kyrie Irving situation is interesting. We'll definitely be following along because it's a roller coaster ride. We don't know how the hell it's going to end. So, moving on to another player who was holding out. This one hits a little bit closer home to you, Matt. Ben Simmons. I'm not even going to, say anything to start off here. I'm just going to give you the mic here and you can talk your shit.
Well, I mean, this Ben Simmons saga has been the story of the summer, pretty much. It's been dominating my Twitter timeline for the better part of 4 months now since he didn't dunk on Trae Young, even though Trae Young is about 10 inches smaller than him. But that's besides the point. I can't believe they lost that series. Anyway, Ben Simmons, let's be honest here with this whole situation. He's tanked his own trade value. He really has by, his own performance in the playoffs, outright refusing to get better in any sense of, offensively. I mean, he's been the same player he was 4 years ago. And you could even argue that he's regressed because his rookie year, he started he started shooting jump shots a little bit like towards the foul line, but then he just stopped doing it all of a sudden. And he's just honestly regressed as a basketball player from an offensive standpoint. Obviously, defensively, he arguably could have won Defensive Player of the Year last year, in my opinion. But he's tanked his own value because of his awful performance in the playoffs. He can't shoot free throws. He's downright a pussy because he's just. He gets affected by so many other things. Like he just gets so like caught up in his own mind. He's not a professional basketball player type. He's a celebrity. He doesn't want to be a celebrity. That's all he wants to be. And, the whole Rich Paul thing, and then, saying I'm going to hold out, I'm not going to report to training camp, I'm not going to play at all. And then, of course, that was a huge bluff because it was just he didn't want to play until they traded him. But obviously he started getting $300K checks in the mail that he owed the Sixers because he wasn't playing in the preseason. Eventually that enough was enough for him, and losing $1.5 million was more than enough to make him come back. And now he's back with the Sixers. And like I said, he's tanked his own value because Daryl Morey has been outright in saying that he's not going to trade him just for the sake of trading him. Like he wants a star player in return. He wants a Damian Lillard, Bradley Beal type in return. I don't know if they'll necessarily get that if they do end up trading for him. But he's been stand pat in that issue, and he's not going to give up Ben Simmons for the sake of giving up Ben Simmons. And Ben Simmons has not made it easier to trade him either. He's just been a prima donna about the situation. He has been competing with Kyrie Irving on who's the biggest bitch in the NBA. And it's that easy. I mean, it really is.
Yeah. Basically Ben Simmons is, I guess dipping his toe in the real estate market because it seems like every single time he's going to miss a game, he's going to be giving up like a house, $300,000. Like you said, and like we said on Ball Don't Lie, it's about the almighty dollar. That's the only reason Ben Simmons is back because even he realizes like if I missed games, I am going to lose so much money. It doesn't matter how rich these NBA players are. $300,000 is a lot of money, especially when it starts adding up. So
especially when you have a $17 million house.
Yeah.
You gotta pay them on that.
Doesn't he live in the Ritz though?
That's in New Jersey.
Oh, okay,
yeah. His LA house is $17 million.
Okay, I'm glad you know that, Matt. I appreciate that. That's a nice nugget.
Yes, this is what my Twitter timeline has told me, Hunter.
That's good to know. But as of now, Ben Simmons, he's actually back in Philly. He's apparently at training camp and stuff. Today might actually be his first like press conference or like post like since.
No way.
Really? No, I was
it is because I need to watch that.
I was hearing something that like media was waiting for Ben Simmons to talk. So I don't know.
They're always waiting for Ben Simmons to talk.
So I don't know if how official that is or not, how open it is. But obviously NBA season starts tomorrow, and Doc Rivers has even said that Ben is nowhere close to being in game shape. He said, "Well, no kidding, he hasn't been here." So I know Doc Rivers. I feel bad for him, honestly. He has to keep answering these questions as he should, but it's still you're putting your teammates and your coaches in a shitty spot because none of them want to be talking about you. You're just becoming a huge distraction. Now, on the flip side, I get Ben Simmons wasn't great in the playoffs. Trust me, I've been super critical of him too. But having him instead of getting nothing is a subtraction. Like they need Ben Simmons there unless they're able to get a star player or some really good players in a trade. Otherwise, that's a huge loss for them. They don't have their best passer, the best perimeter defender. They don't have the guy who's the offense runs around him. Even Embiid said, "I've sacrificed my own game and my own ego so that Ben Simmons can thrive." Embiid had a huge, interview where he was saying how upset he was that Ben wasn't there, and he tried reaching out to him, and he couldn't get him to budge. And I think, if anything, that just made Philly fans love Embiid even more. The fact that he was fighting so hard to keep him there. But the situation is really messy, and there's now this growing belief around the league, Matt, that this might have a trickle-down effect into the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, because Ben Simmons already signed his mega deal. He did that a few years ago. And even though this is designed to keep players in their markets, it's more so for small market teams. Philly's not really a small market team, but it's the kind of when you draft your guys, you keep your homegrown talent in where you drafted them. But now you're seeing, there's a chance players might be wanting to opt out, signing a year or two into their deals. I wonder, do you think that might be a trend, Matt, where players will, play their rookie contract out, the sign max extensions, and all of a sudden they'll just be like, you know what, I don't want to be here anymore, trade me.
Well, I think it is a trend at this point. I mean, the NBA is a players' league. There's no doubt about it. When a player wants out, he gets out. Ask James Harden. He showed up to camp fat, and then he played in a couple of games, wasn't really interested in being in Houston, and then he got traded to Brooklyn. And now he's in a great situation. So, yeah, the NBA has always been a players' league, and even more so for the past 10 years with all the free agency and moving and stuff. and with all the facilitation with trades. I mean, it's a players' league, and there's no doubt about that. And that really hurts the small market teams, like you mentioned, that are going to be affected by players wanting out and wanting to go to the LAs, the Bostons, the New Yorks. They want to go play for these big cities, these big markets. And it's really going to hurt these teams. And at the end of the day, Ben Simmons signed this contract because he wanted to be in Philly. And now it's looking like he signed that contract because he saw the dollar sign. He didn't really care where he played. He saw the dollar sign. And now that people, don't like him anymore, and now that people are critical of him, God forbid somebody criticizes you in your work, you and your job, now he doesn't want to deal with it. And he wants to go somewhere else where people will also criticize him, because this criticism isn't just Philly only. It's nationwide. Arguably, the national media has been tougher on him than Philly media has, and Philly fans have, because Philly fans have defended him for long, and me included have defended him longer than anybody else. And now, now it's become, oh, they don't like me. Well, I don't like them either. And now it's been this whole hoopla. And you brought the Doc Rivers situation too. I know this is kind of getting off topic from your question, but he said that Ben Simmons said that Doc Rivers didn't have his back, and that Embiid didn't have his back in that Game 7 press conference. Like, dude, you just lost a series for him. Like, what are they supposed to say? And, Doc Rivers was throughout the year the only guy that came to bat for you every single press conference, because every single press conference it was, can Ben shoot? Will Ben shoot? Do you think Ben should shoot? And he's just been like, no, like, look at all the other things he does. And then, for this whole situation, for it to trickle down to what has become, it's a shame. And I think it is going to affect the league as a whole. And I think this situation right here is going to determine where the league goes from here, because if Simmons stays pat in Philadelphia and Daryl Morey holds firm on his stance that he's not going to trade him just for the sake of trading him, I think that gives power back a little bit to the GMs and the head coaches and the organization as a whole. And if Simmons does end up getting traded for pennies on the dollar, it's going to be a huge power shift and say, look, players can pretty much do whatever they want. That doesn't matter what kind of contract you're on. You're a free agent whenever you want to be.
Yeah, there's one word that kind of describes this Ben Simmons and Kyrie Irving drama, and it's this word: accountability. They don't have it. These players, when I watch them play, or not even play, we watch them, how the way they act, the way they behave, they do not take accountability for their actions at all. It's always somebody else's fault. There's always excuses being made, but they don't. It's frustrating to watch. They're both extremely talented players. People have defended them. They make themselves the victim. They have this victim mindset, and yet they're acting like they're not getting paid $30 million a year, $40 million a year to go out and fucking play basketball. That's all it is. And so it's frustrating to watch as fans. The Simmons situation, it kind of reminds me of the Carson Wentz one a little bit, as you probably know. Sorry to bring that up too, where it's like Eagle fans are trying to back you up. They're very loyal, but they're also very honest. If you don't have their back, they're not going to have yours, and vice versa. Simmons never really embraced Philly. I don't think he's Philly tough, like they always say. Whereas someone like Jalen Hurts is, and someone like Joel Embiid is. They embrace that. If they fuck up, they're like, I got to be better. It's not like, oh, it's this person's fault, or I didn't do this. This person didn't put me in a situation. Coach won't let me work on this. Like, it just gets to a point where it's like, all right, Ben, you've been in the league. This is a 6th year or something like that, I want to say.
Well, 5th year of years he's actually played, because he missed his whole rookie.
Yeah. All right. So 6th season playing. Like, at this point, man, like, you're on your 2nd contract. Like, there's no more excuses. You're a young guy, but there's no more excuses of being like, oh, well, he's young and he'll learn from this. Like, you got to go out there and do your job. And Ben Simmons is not doing his job. And that's why he's frustrated. But at the end of the day, like, get in the gym and get better. Like, you've seen Lonzo Ball work on his jump shot. He was the worst shooting point guard in basketball. And now he's like a pretty good shooter. Like, it's not that hard. Working on your jump shot is like one of the easiest things, because you can't teach Ben's vision. You can't teach his ability to just be a freak athlete and guard so many positions and get to the rim and attack with tenacity. It's all in his head. But I think accountability is the biggest reason why he isn't where he is.
Absolutely. And, to go off that point of accountability, it's, this is the first time probably in his life that he's ever been criticized like this so publicly and so much, because his entire life growing up, all he did was, people told him how good he was. And, including, his high school. And, he made his own documentary when he was the 1 year in LSU, where he was pretty open about he hated being there, that he hated to be, that he had to go through that 1 year of college. And, it's just been people constantly patting him on the back. And maybe that's a generational issue. Maybe it's just our generation, and his generation specifically has I guess we are the same generation, aren't we? That kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But it's just been people have been, molded to be, what they've just been constantly patted on the back. And this is the first time Simmons has been publicly criticized, and rightfully so, and he can't handle it. And like you said, he's not mentally tough enough, and that's the reason why he shot 37% from the free throw line in the playoffs. Is not because he's that bad. He is that bad, but also because he's just mentally checked out and he's just not going to be able to do it. And it concerns me for how much he's going to be booed this season, on the road and obviously at home as well, because how much, I tell you right now, the pulse of the city is Philadelphia. They hate him. So they're going to let him know on Friday night when they play the Brooklyn Nets at home in their home opener. They're going to let him know how much they hate him. So it's going to be ugly. And, how is he going to be able to combat that? I don't know, because he's been nothing but mentally weak ever since he stepped foot in the city.
Yeah, like you said, Friday night will be an interesting game. We'll see how the Sixers look with him, but see if he even plays. I don't know. Not because he won't be there. Maybe Doc Rivers is like, I don't know, you're not ready. But I think we milked this topic enough, Matt. Like we said, some of the deadlines are today. We talked about how Kyrie probably not going to be expected to sign a contract extension here. But some of the rookie extensions, those that deadline will be at 6 p.m. Rosters will also be finalized at 5 p.m. We'll see if there's any cuts. It's not really like the NFL, though, where there's any shocking cuts. Usually it's pretty cut and dry. But just an hour or so ago, Jaren Jackson Jr. signed a 4-year, $105 million extension. Matt, I don't know about you. I wasn't shocked that he signed the extension, but I thought that was a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a ton of money for Jaren Jackson Jr. And, he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. But is he worth $105 million? I don't think so. And I just think that's the way the NBA salary cap has been working the last couple of years, where, players are getting more than they're worth. And it really hurts these teams like the Memphis Grizzlies that don't have a lot of cash to spend. And they're giving it out to guys like Jaren Jackson Jr., who's a solid player, but he's not worth $105 million. And that straps your cap situation. So I think, it was necessary for the Grizzlies to lock him up because he is one of their key cornerstones. He is one of their young player makers to put alongside Ja Morant. But at the end of the day, does it really make this team a whole lot better to have him to that huge contract extension? Maybe, maybe not. But it does hurt them in terms of where they're going to get the rest of that money to fill out the rest of the roster.
Yeah, the way I kind of looked at this deal is a similar way that the Denver Nuggets signed Michael Porter Jr., which was a max extension, is that they're betting on the upside here. Jaren Jackson Jr., when he is on the court, he's probably worth that money. He's a really talented player, a guy who's 7 foot, can shoot threes, can switch on to smaller players. He's a great rim protector, a good defensive player. He can put the ball on the ground too and create his own offense. He's a really talented player. There's a reason why he was a top 5 pick, number 4 overall for a reason. But the best ability is availability, Matt. And Jaren Jackson, I don't know how many games or what the percentage is, but he has missed a lot of games in his career. He kind of reminds me of Anthony Davis, just the way he plays the game, because he, I think, was a guy who grew a lot in high school. I think he had a huge growth spurt, Jaren Jackson. So he has a lot of guard skills. But the thing, the difference whether you're a 6'3" player and a 6'11", when you're attacking the basket and landing on your knees constantly and constantly hitting the ground, it doesn't wear you out as much if you're smaller. If you're a bigger guy, that's where the injuries come in. That's why Jaren Jackson, who's not super big, has had all these injuries is because of the way he plays the game. And it's not that it's necessarily a detriment, and you want him to be aggressive, you want him to do his thing, but it's why he's always hurt, because he's kind of a perimeter type of big. And that's why Anthony Davis has gotten hurt so many times in his career too. And Anthony Davis was even skinnier earlier in his career than Jaren Jackson is now. But if you're the Grizzlies, this is not a team, I know they made the playoffs, but they are still kind of a rebuilding team because they have so many young players, but they're kind of further along in their rebuild than people thought. So I think signing Jaren Jackson is good. Maybe he's a little expensive, but I think you just hope that he gets healthier and that he lives up to that money, in the coming years.
Yeah, like you said, man, he missed a lot of time. He played only 11 games a season ago, which is not ideal for somebody you're paying $105 million over the next 4 years. Look, like you said, if he can stay on the court, maybe he earns up to that potential. Maybe he even gets a third contract that's bigger than that. But the fact that you have, like you said, your best availability is your best ability is your availability. Did I say that right? Okay,
Got it.
There
you go.
When he's on the court, he's a good player, but I still would argue that he's probably not worth $26-something million a year. But he is a good player. He just needs to progress more. He needs to stay on the court, and that's the bottom line.
Yeah, yeah, I'm curious to see how he's able to develop with the Memphis Grizzlies. But another big man, the guy who went first overall in that draft, DeAndre Ayton, is still awaiting his contract. That's the one I'm definitely looking out for as the 6 p.m. deadline comes, especially since Phoenix just signed Mikal Bridges to a 4-year, $90 million extension. Jaren Jackson gets $105 million. I think DeAndre Ayton's looking for like the money that other guys like Michael Porter Jr., Trae Young, Luka Doncic, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander got, because Ayton's like, I was the first pick. I balled out in the playoffs, and I was the one who played in the NBA Finals, not these guys. Where's my money? And I think the Suns are trying to gauge, is Ayton that kind of player next year? Is he going to be that dominant big man that he was in the playoffs for 82 games? I think that's kind of where these two sides are fighting over right now.
And I think the Suns definitely have the advantage in that, because while Ayton was fantastic in the playoffs, he was kind of a ghost in the NBA Finals, but he was fantastic throughout the playoffs. He was great offensively, put up a lot of big stats. His defense is still a liability. It is. I mean, he got better since his rookie year defensively, but he's nowhere near the upper echelon of defensive centers. He's a great offensive player, but is he worth the $200 million extension? No, he's not. I think he would definitely get more than Jaren Jackson would. But I just think, especially with the Suns dishing out all the money to Chris Paul, they're going to have to pay Devin Booker again soon. They're thinking about, possibly building a huge roster, and with Mikal Bridges recently signing a 4-year, $90 million extension as well. There's not a lot of money to send around. And I think they're trying to allocate that the best way they possibly can. I think DeAndre Ayton is worth an extension. I do think, he would definitely be worth Jaren Jackson money, but I think he'll get more than that. I don't know if he's necessarily worth Michael Porter Jr. money. Not that Michael Porter Jr. is worth that money either as of now, but I think he'll get the extension. I just don't know if it'll be something that he's looking for.
Yeah, we'll see if it breaks here on Ball Don't Lie as it comes. I don't remember if you were here or not for that. It might have been David, but I remember when Aiden got suspended 25 games, that was live. But I'm not sure if that was you or David. I forgot what year that happened. I was listening a good friend, David Green. Shout out to him. But
friend of the program.
Yeah, friend of the program, former co-host. But yeah, I think this Aiden thing's really interesting because I think he deserves to get an extension. I think the Suns need him there. They need an anchor for that team in the paint like that, because Aiden's been phenomenal. I think he's gonna get even better because he's only like 22 years old or 23. Like, he's gonna get a lot better too. I think he'll eventually be one of the better, or one of the best, I'll even say, big men in basketball. So they gotta lock him up. But we'll see what the price tag is. I think if they have to pay him a little more than he's worth, I think you just do it. But also too, Wendell Carter getting 4 years, $50 million. Not super relevant there, but clearly the Magic liked him enough in that Vucevic deal to give him an extension. But I don't know, Matt. It seems like Mo Bamba's tenure with the Magic might be over then, considering Carter's the one who's getting the money here.
Did it ever start? Because I've
been waiting. Yeah,
I've not seen anything from Mo Bamba in, like, what is this, like his third or fourth year he's been in Orlando?
This is his fourth year. Yeah.
Oh my God, I have not heard anything from Mo Bamba. Like that, I totally forgot he's on the roster. Yeah, I think that means he walks, but if he walks, I don't know where he's going to play, because Orlando is one of the few rosters in the league he could probably make. This is quite the draft pick.
Very wrong on Mo Bamba. I thought Mo Bamba would be like Rudy Gobert with a jump shot. I was very wrong about that. Hey, maybe he would have been worth all that money then if he had a jump shot. Just saying. But some other players that are going to be up for extensions today, notable ones: Colin Sexton. You got Brandon Clark, also with the Memphis Grizzlies. Marvin Bagley Jr., Miles Bridges, Dante DiVincenzo, Lonnie Walker, Kevin Huerter. Matt, I was just reading through this draft class. There's some other second-round picks who got extensions this summer, like Gary Trent Jr. and Devontae Graham. I'm like, this is one of the most stacked draft classes I've ever seen. Oh, my God. There's at least like 20 guys in this draft that are legitimately like really good basketball players.
Except for Marvin Bagley, yeah. Pretty much.
Hey, he might break out this year. He just can't stay healthy, all right?
Yeah, you keep telling yourself that, Hunter. Dante DiVincenzo is one of the big names that sticks out to me on this list because, similar to what we were talking about with the Suns, the Bucks, who were their finals counterparts, really don't have that much money to be thrown around either. Obviously with Giannis on his supermax, Chris Middleton on a max deal, Jrue Holiday on a max deal. I mean, I don't know where if Dante DiVincenzo gets paid by the Bucks, I don't know where that money's coming from. Maybe from the championship parade, I'm not sure. But Obviously he missed that whole finals run last year because he did get hurt. Either in like one of the first games of the playoffs or right before the playoffs, he got hurt. But he is a valuable player to them, no doubt. I think he's definitely worth it. I just don't know how much the Bucks will give him or how much they'll be able to give him.
Yeah, I think if they're able to agree on a extension by 6 p.m. today, I actually think they might get a team-friendly deal because their leverage is, well, we just won an NBA Finals without you. And I think they like him a lot, and he's a valuable piece of that team. I know they won without him, but they are a better team with him. He's a really good player, and he can really score the living crap out of the ball. So definitely want him there for Milwaukee. I can't see him leaving either. I think both parties will agree to something at some point. But I feel like Dante might be on the side of let me just get a full year, prove myself again, keep getting better, trust my work and the work I've been putting in this offseason and earn his money. I think that's probably what ends up happening.
And honestly, like he could end up getting, more money from another team in free agency next year if he doesn't, if he doesn't re-sign with Milwaukee right now. And honestly, like he could end up going back to Milwaukee anyway. You know what I mean? But I would say if I was Dante, I would let the year progress. Let play out this contract that he's on and see where it takes him from there. See if he can get more money from another team.
Yeah, and all these players will be restricted free agents, so either way, teams will be able to max their contracts too. Kevin Huerter, an interesting name also because he really balled out in the playoffs for Atlanta.
Yeah, don't mind, man. Why would you say that to me?
Right now? Oops. Sorry. Anyways, though, NBA is considering an expansion team here. Silver says, no doubt Vegas will be one of the landing spots if it happens. Matt, I think Vegas does make a lot of sense, but I also think so does Seattle.
Yeah, I was about to say Seattle would probably be the team I'd put the top of the list, especially since you ripped the Sonics from there. But it's fine. Vegas has proven, that they are a legit sports city. There was questions about moving, the Vegas Golden Knights, they're the hockey team, and moving the Raiders to Vegas as well, about what kind of commitment they would get from fans. But so far, the reception has been great from Vegas. They know how to put on a show for sure. I think obviously Vegas already has the arena they could share with the hockey team there. So I think Vegas would be a great place for the NBA to go. But if they're going to go to Vegas, they got to go to Seattle as well.
Yeah, and the Aces WNBA team also plays there too. They also have Summer League in Vegas as well at the Mac Center. So basketball is popping there in Vegas too. So I think Vegas makes a lot of sense. Financially, maybe more sense in Seattle, but just the heart of me is like, let's get Seattle of the team again. Let's bring the Sonics back. They deserved it.
Absolutely. But here's a question though, Hunter. If they are to add a team like Vegas and then a team of Seattle, obviously those are two West Coast teams. Do they reconstruct the conferences? Like who goes? That would be 17 teams in the West and 15 in the East. What's the team in the West that goes to the East?
Off the top, I would say Minnesota. Considering they're probably the only cold weather,
Memphis.
And probably Memphis, maybe New Orleans. But yeah, probably one of those teams. Doesn't help the Eastern Conference at all.
It's not getting the Eastern Conference anymore.
Nope. Anyways, though, before we get accused of being anti-Rudy Gobert podcast here, we will say one nice thing about him.
Talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, this is mainly your doing, Matt. We're going to shout him out for his Rudy Kids Foundation, which helped open a food pantry at a Salt Lake middle school where 86% of the student body live below the poverty line. Glad his $205 million is going to good use.
Yeah, no, it's good that he's giving some back to the community because it's the community that got him that contract. Yeah, he's not worth all that money, so it's good to see that he's giving it away to some kids that really need it. And honestly, though, it's a great gesture by Gobert. I know I get on him a lot, but he seems to be a pretty down-to-earth guy, except for the fact that he made fun of COVID when it first started and pretty much started the pandemic in my eyes. But that being
Defensive player of the year. I've never won from scoring.
Rudy Gobert was patient zero. Anyway, shout out to him for being nice to the kids.
Yeah. Anyways, though, like we say, no team gets left behind here. We're not gonna leave the ladies behind here either. The Chicago Sky yesterday, I guess, capped off their season and then the intro to the NBA season. They defeated the Phoenix Mercury 80-74 in Game 4 of the WNBA Finals. That's their first ever championship in franchise history. The talk of the town was Candace Parker. She spent 13 years with the LA Sparks, came back home to Chicago, ends up winning the championship in her first season there. I'm sure that meant a lot to her. Also, her second championship in her career. Matt, I don't know about you, but I saw her kind of break down a little bit, as most people do when they win their finals. even if it's not your first time. And seeing her hug her family and daughter, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. I saw that as well. I think this was a little bit of a redemption story for Parker a little bit because, I saw something where she was in like 2019, she was voted most overrated player in the league, which I didn't know they had those kind of votes. That's kind of
that's brutal. Jesus.
So this was a little bit of a redemption story for her going home, for her going to Chicago, which is her hometown, to win a championship. I'm sure it meant a lot to her, as hugging her daughter too, who has been at there every step of the way throughout her career. Parker said so. I think it's a great opportunity for her. Great series as well. That I think it was Clay Cooper here who won Finals MVP. Who I think that's how you say her name. Who had that really cool photo where she was in the opponent's face after the finals win. I don't know if you saw it.
I don't know if I saw that one.
All right, hold on. I'll pull it up. I'll look for it. Hold on.
All right.
talking.
Meanwhile, though,
We'll find it.
I saw something that apparently after she got introduced the Finals MVP trophy, they were chanting out KFC. Some figure looking good basketball there. I'm sure she should definitely use her name, image, and likeness and try to get a sponsorship with Kentucky Fried Chicken. I'm not a big Kentucky Fried Chicken fan, Matt. Their food's a little greasy.
Really?
I'm more of a Popeyes kind of guy, as you know.
Oh, that's true. You are a Popeyes man.
Yes, Popeyes is really the king of the chicken sandwich, if you will.
Oh, I found it. Yeah, I was right.
All right,
Okay.
there we go. That bought enough time.
Okay, where's the camera?
Oh, yikes. Damn. Ooh.
Isn't that pretty
reminds me
cool?
of have you seen the Colin Sexton high school video?
Yes,
when,
that's
the
exactly
what
he
he
stares
puts his
directly
hands
at
on,
the
he
guy.
stares into his soul. I was
Yeah.
like, Jesus. That's kind of what that reminds me of. Cooper's a cold-blooded killer, I guess.
Yeah, shout out to her. That was a pretty cool photo.
Yeah, definitely made for some good moments there. But like we say, on Ball Don't Lie, Matt.
That's no team left behind, Hunter.
No team left behind. Next, we're going to go into a buy or sell preseason type of segment here because, it's time to overreact or calm down with everything that happens in the preseason because it matters so much. First thing we're going to look at here, Matt, Lakers went 0-6 in the preseason. Last time that happened was in 2012 during the Dwight Howard era, the first go-around in La La Land. Matt, what do you make of this? Is it time to overreact? Are the Lakers, this old irrelevant team, or do we need to pump the brakes?
Well, 0-6 isn't good, Hunter, no matter what way you slice it. But at the end of the day, I mean, this team's just old. They got to get their warm-ups in. They got to get the knees running a little bit. They got to
stretches going.
Got to get cranked out a little bit. That's all it means. Going 0-6 in a preseason means nothing. LeBron doesn't care. They're worried about the regular season. Honestly, they're not even that worried about the regular season. They're worried about the postseason. So I think they're just worried about getting to that. Preseason really does not mean anything to them. I think they'll be totally fine, and you'll see it probably tomorrow night. I think they'd beat that Warriors team pretty handily tomorrow night.
Yeah, I think if anything, that's just motivation. But yeah, a lot of new pieces though. The Lakers, I will say, I think the only thing you might maybe a little cause of concern is like, hey, does it take a little bit for all these guys to get to know each other? I will say though, the previous 2 years, the Lakers have had a complete roster overhaul, and they actually started off the year really good. And the Lakers might have the easiest schedule the first 10, 15 games of the season. They're playing like the Thunder and the Cavs.
Oh, we're already doing schedule hunting? We're already doing that?
Oh, all right. Only because like I saw it and I was like, this is actually pathetic. Why the NBA? Like, are you serious?
Yeah. Like, well, because they want the Lakers to be good. That's why.
I guess, yeah. That might be a little collusion there. But yeah, I don't think it's time to overreact. But let's talk about another team, the Chicago Bulls, who are blowing teams out of the water in the preseason. They looked really good. I definitely think that they are a better basketball team, but I want to know, how much better do you think this team is?
I think they're a solid team. I think they're going to be around that 5 to 9 range in the East. I think they could pretty much anywhere from there. I mean, they do have the star talent. They do have DeMar DeRozan who picked up, Vucevic who they picked up last year, and then Alonzo Ball, who we were pretty much screaming at him to go to the Bulls.
Yeah, we really were. We were the first on that. I'm telling you,
we really were on that last year when he said when he was about to get traded. But he never got traded, obviously. So I think it's a great fit for him because he doesn't have to score. He can be that facilitator. He can play that Ben Simmons role offensively, not so much defensively, but offensively he can play that Ben Simmons role and get the ball to 3 legitimate shooters in Levine, DeMar DeRozan, and the guy who can make his own shot down low in Vucevic. So I think they're a solid team. I think they're kind of being underrated, honestly, in my opinion. Obviously they're the offseason MVPs, but if you were to give a championship to an offseason team, I guess it'd be the Bulls or the Lakers. But I think the Bulls did a great job of reconstructing this team. And, at this point, it's do or die right now for this Bulls team, especially with how they've been rebuilding for the last couple of years, and now they have the guys, now they have the dudes to compete. They won't necessarily be a championship contender or get the upper echelon of the East, but they will be a solid team this year. They're going to be a tough out for every team, no matter what we slice it, I think.
Yeah, I'll save my Bulls take for later in the show because I'm a little bit on one side of the fence when it comes to the Chicago Bulls here. But next up, we're going to talk about Zion Williamson, who's looking sturdy, plump. I don't know, any sort of adjectives you want to say without being too mean on him, I guess. But I want to know if this is a cause of concern for you, Matt. He does have a foot injury, so he's not going to be here to start this season. How are you feeling about Zion Williamson at this moment?
Well, he's looking chunky. There's no way about. You're right on the picture already. He's looking chunky.
This is the Gatorade commercial. Oh, okay.
So the bottom picture is his rookie season. The top picture is now.
Yeah, it wasn't like Zion was like a stick when he came in the league either. It was like, oh wow, look at him put all that muscle.
Yeah, he's had too much gumbo down there in Louisiana.
With beignets.
Yeah, so it's finger looking good for sure. But I Zion, I mean, they had to reteach him how to walk because he got so fat. But he's definitely looking definitely looking like a little chunky, and it's good for me that he's missing the beginning of the season because the Sixers do open up their season on Wednesday night against the Pelicans. Not that anybody in New Orleans cares, but I do think it is a little bit of a cause for concern, the fact that he's gained all this weight. It doesn't look like it's good weight either, but he's still a dominant basketball player. I don't think it'll necessarily slow him down. Well, actually, it might slow him down, but it won't stop him from being their best player or I guess one of their best players with Brandon Ingram. Wow, two guys that are stark. Huge contrast in weight there.
Yeah, Zion might weigh over 100 pounds more than Brandon Ingram. I think Brandon Ingram's got like 3 inches on him.
I'd love to see those two go one-on-one in practice.
It'd be interesting.
Oh man, Brandon Ingram would just like run right past him. Zion would back him down. He'd probably
interesting duo.
Anyway, if I were New Orleans, I think there's cause for concern here, especially since there's a little bit of a rift between Zion and David Griffin. Because he said that David Griffin was a weirdo, which he is for playing a piano in front of him. Very strange. But I think there is cause for concern here if you are one of the 3 Pelicans fans out there.
Yeah, that duo could be Thunder and Lightning. I think we know who's Thunder and who's Lightning of the two.
Let's just say you can hear Zion walking.
Yeah.
You know when Zion's coming to the room.
Yeah, pretty much. He lets his presence known. I'm actually not as concerned, and the reason why is because Zion just plays like he bullies you anyway. He's gonna back his ass down on you. He's gonna play in the paint. I think he said like he had the most paint points in basketball last year, or like it was like the highest percentage of his points were in the paint compared to like anyone else in the NBA. And I think that even included like Ben Simmons. Like, so that says a lot. And Zion can actually kind of make a jump shot. You remember Zion made like 4 threes like in the fourth quarter of his first game? Like,
that was pretty wild. I remember watching that. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell? Like, what are they doing in New Orleans? Jesus. But yeah, I think Zion will be fine. I think he has some. Apparently, like he's like in terms of like his training, it's like really weird. Like apparently, he's able to gain and lose weight like instantly. I don't know how. I guess he's like a freak. I saw his whole thing. Like I think it was when he was hurt the first time. Like you said, they're like teaching him how to walk again. Like apparently, like he lost like 10 pounds like a day. I was like, what the hell? And like gained like 15 pounds a day. I'm like, that's not even possible. What the fuck is this? It was like some like crazy shit. It was like or like a couple days.
I need to get on Zion's weight plan.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? Yeah. So I'm not too concerned just because of the way he plays. But anyways, though, Zion does not have a song about him. Tyler Hero does though, and he's kind of been the star of the Miami Heat, the preseason MVP, I guess, and the bubble MVP, Tyler Hero. Let's see if it translates into the regular season. Do you think it will?
No, I don't think. I mean, especially since he's not the guy. They're not expecting him to be the guy. In fact, they got Kyle Lowry in the offseason says a lot, I think, in their confidence in Tyler Hero, which I don't think is very high. The fact that they gave Duncan Robinson a lot of money and Tyler Hero is still playing out his rookie contract, I think says a lot. I don't think the Miami Heat are very confident in Tyler Hero, and nor should they be after the season he put out last year, where he also seems like he might be a little bit more interested in being a celebrity than a basketball player at this point, especially living in Miami and having the girlfriend that he has. But Tyler Hero, I think, does he have a bounce back year? I guess so, because there's no way he could possibly be worse than he was last year. So I think also learning from Kyle Lowry as well is very important. Kyle Lowry is a very high IQ basketball player, especially the same position that Hero plays. So I think he'll be good for Hero, but will he be better than last year? Yeah, but will he be good? I don't necessarily think so.
I'm actually going to disagree with you on this one, Matt. I'm not saying he's going to average like 25 a game or anything like that, but I do think he has a lot better of a season. I think last year, I 100% agree with you. I think he bought into the hype. I think the fact that they had that shortened offseason kind of screwed with the Heat and the Lakers a little bit, and like some of those teams going far in the bubble. I think it wore out on them in the beginning of the season. Like both teams mentally could not recover from it. So I think it might be a new slate for both teams. I expect the Heat to be a lot better, and I expect the Lakers to be a lot better. Tyler Hero, I think he's going to have a lot better season. I do. I think he's a really talented player. I think he last year just wasn't in great game shape. I think he fed into the hype a little bit. I expect him to be more humble this year. He probably is going to come off the bench, I imagine, with I'm assuming it's going to be a Lowry, Butler, Robinson, 1, 2, 3 starting. So Hero would be a really good 6-man, I think. Maybe he closes out games. We'll see if they go like small ball a little bit. But I think Tyler Hero is a really talented player. I'm going to bet on the upside here. I will think he'll be a little more of what we saw in the bubble than what he was all of last year.
Yeah, I don't think his long-term projection is what he was in the bubble, but I don't think it's as bad as he was last year. Also, I think
he'll be a lot better. I personally think so. But I don't think he'll be averaging like 25 a game like he has in the preseason. I think that's a little much. But the NBA, though, is doing away with some of its, I don't know, I guess foul hunting calls. That's probably the best way to describe it. And I've been watching some preseason, Matt, not a lot, because, it is kind of football season now. But, yeah, I've watched a little bit of it. They are definitely making this a point of emphasis, though. They are not calling any of these foul hunting calls against the offense or at all or in the offense's favor. Matt, I know how you feel about this, but do you expect this trend to continue from a refereeing standpoint, that they're going to keep making this a point of emphasis throughout the season?
God, I freaking hope so, because Trae Young, his points per game are going to go down like 10 points from the fact that he's not going to be getting these calls anymore.
James Harden won't be getting the line as much.
God, I couldn't stand watching that series last year. This is the second time I've had to bring up this Sixers-Hawks series again. Thanks a lot, Hunter. But I'm so glad the NBA implemented this rule, because it was getting ridiculous. The players were doing what they felt, they were doing what was legal. They were taking advantage of the rule book, the rule stipulations. And now that it's out, we've seen players try to do it. It just has not worked. We saw Steph Curry do it in a preseason game. It didn't work. And if Steph Curry's not getting that call, nobody else is getting that call. Mm-mm. So I think that's a good precedent to set. I think it'll definitely have a positive impact on the season, no doubt.
I hope so. It's a very gray area that they're trying to get rid of right now. That's kind of what my issue is a little bit. Sometimes, like you said, Matt, it's almost like pass interference in like the NFL, right? Mm-hmm. Like sometimes it's clear as day. You see this holding or you're pushing off, and sometimes you're kind of like, I don't know. And these refs, I do have to give them some credit. It's way easier to ref on the couch and instant replay and get all these angles than it is to do it on the court or on the field. But I don't know. I think it's good, but at the same time, though, like, is it gonna get to the point where they're not gonna call anything and it's just gonna be like a junkyard, like black court kind of game? Like, I don't know. But
honestly, I'd rather see them call a lot less. That's one of those sports that takes way too long.
The instant replays. That's my biggest issue is the instant replays. I'm done with that. Like,
and they changed that rule too. They said
they did.
It was like the out of bounds rule. They can only challenge a certain amount now. So that's good too. I mean, the game's got to pick up the pace here a little bit, especially in the playoffs. Oh my God, that was brutal. Some of these games were taking way longer than they should have because they were just, reviewing everything and calling fouls and everything. So I do think any sport where you can get less ref involvement, the better.
Yeah, it was funny because I went to my sister's CYO game. If you don't know, that's like travel basketball. And they stop it after every dead ball. And there was probably at least 50 fouls in that game. My sister's in 7th grade, so they called just about everything. And I was like, oh, my God. They're the bonus. Is like 8 minutes left in the quarter. And it resets every quarter. It was rough.
That's brutal.
I was like, Jesus, like, let the kids play. Holy crap. Anyways, though, something I always like doing here on Ball Don't Lie, Matt as well, I think, is doing our all-star predictions. But we don't go through 1 through 12 who's going to make it. We like to predict who's going to be those breakout guys, because every single year there's always a few players that have those great years and they put themselves in all-star conversation and make that first appearance. Matt, I guess I'll just let you give your list here. We'll see if we got anything in common. Who you got?
I'm sure we'll have something similar because we usually are on the same page with this kind of stuff. But my first one is probably the most obvious. I'm going to go with De'Aaron Fox. He's increased his scoring average every year, including this past year when he averaged a career high 25.2 points per game. Playing in Sacramento certainly hurts his chances of making the All-Star team, especially if they continue to struggle like they have in the past 18 years. But if he continues to progress, I think he'll be an All-Star. I think you can count on that. I think he's the surefire bet to make the All-Star team this year out of everybody who has not made the All-Star team in their career so far. My next pick is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Now, SGA may just be the most underrated player in the league. If he didn't play for the hogwash organization that is the Oklahoma City Thunder, more people would know about this young man's skills. He averaged a career high 23.7 points per game last season. And like Fox, he has only gotten better with time. If he's not an all-star this season, I attribute that to the team he plays for and not necessarily because of his skill. And then my last one here for players that are eligible for it, I'm going to go with Christian Wood. The former process Sixer has done nothing but shine since the world shut down in March of 2020. He came over to Houston in free agency a year ago and has flourished, scoring 21 points per game last season to go along with 9.5 boards. Obviously, he did get hurt last year, so he did miss about half the season. So if he doesn't get hurt, I think he can definitely be an all-star this season. And, much like SGA, Wood it doesn't get as much attention because of the team he plays for. So admittedly, this is a bit of a stretch because this position is loaded in the West specifically, but Wood has made himself into a great player. And then not necessarily for this season, but for beyond this season, a guy that's never made the all-star team that will definitely make an all-star team before his career is said and done is Jamal Murray. Murray stumbled out of the gate a little bit in the beginning of last season, which was the main reason he missed the All-Star team last year after a great performance in the bubble. But then he tore his ACL in April when things were really starting to turn around for him. And his return to the court this season is up in the air. With his torn ACL happening in April, there's a good shot we won't see him until the end of the winter. So that's the reason I don't have him making the All-Star team this year, obviously.
Yeah, Jamal Murray would have been an easy pick. I think it's someone we actually picked last year to do it, and then he did. Yep. I don't think he tore his ACL. I think after the All-Star game. I don't think he was going to make it anyway.
Yeah, it was after.
I think the Nuggets just got off to a slow start, like we said, because they were in the bubble for so long. I'm sorry, but that had an effect on the season. I really do think so. But yeah, I have one of those three guys on your list. That's De'Aaron Fox. Because
nice.
I do think
we didn't even go 3 for 3. That's good.
Yeah, not bad. Shai Gilgeous. I mean, David always used to make fun of me that was my favorite player in the NBA because I love Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I 100% agree with everything you're saying, except he plays for the Thunder. And that's why I don't think he makes the All-Star team this year because, unfortunately, he is a victim of his circumstances. And then the third one, Christian Wood, that was a little out there. I'm not going to lie. I was like, damn.
I knew that. That
was a little bold. I love him as a player, but again, Houston, if anything, they might be worse than the Thunder. So I don't know. We can debate that one there. So the three guys I have, De'Aaron Fox, of course, being one. Number 2, I'm going to go with LaMelo Ball for the Hornets. I think that he was phenomenal his rookie year, and I expect him to take a huge jump his second year. I expect him to be a more efficient player, not as turnover friendly. And just a second year in the NBA, second year point guard. I think he's going to understand the game a whole lot more. He's got a really good team around him. I expect the Hornets to be making a playoff push this season. And I think, winning games will definitely help you as an all-star. And I think he'll be the head of that offense, ahead of the snake. And I expect him to be an all-star this season. That's actually the one I feel most confident about out of my 3 players. Not that I think he's better than De'Aaron Fox. I just think that it's more likely because of the Eastern Conference and there's a lot of really, really good guards in the West. Last one, I'm not 100% sold, but I guess since I'm saying it, I'll say it. I'll go with John Collins for the Atlanta Hawks. He just made a lot of money. I think he's the second best player on that team, and I expect the Hawks to be a really good team this year. I think they're going to build off what they did in the postseason, like taking down the 76ers, for example.
Why would you say
taking Milwaukee to 6 games, end up winning the championship. I think that he got his money. I think he's going to be good to go. And I expect him to have a big year, and perhaps that leads to an all-star nod.
John Collins, I'm not going to acknowledge because he hurt my feelings. And you just
did have that nice dunk, though. I mean, it was the preseason, but that was one of the nicest dunks I've ever seen.
What's going on here? Why are you doing this?
Jumped over a man.
Okay, listen, Hunter, I'm going to leave. John Collins, whatever.
Wear your mask when you walk out. I'm sure you have a mask policy there in the building.
Ouch, they do. Well,
Yeah, make sure you wear your shower shoes too.
no, I'm not doing shower shoes anymore. I have my own shower, thank God. But LaMelo Ball, I think I agree with that as well because if nothing else, he has all the hype around him, the hype that the NBA loves.
That does help, and that helps.
And the
If
hype
you're
that
on
goes
House
through
of
the All-Star
Highlights
game.
every night, that's gonna definitely affect the vote.
And fan voting as well is a huge part of the NBA All-Star Game selection. So LaMelo Ball definitely has the hype around him, House of LaMelo. So I think that's a surefire bet that if he doesn't make the All-Star team this year, he'll get there next year. And despite all of the attention, he does have a great game. He does have a great skill set, and I think he will progress this year, especially now he's going to have the full offseason with the team. And let's not forget that last year the offseason for rookies was like a month. So the NBA draft was in November and the season started in December. So the offseason was not very long, but this year he has a full offseason under his belt and a full year of being the starting point guard, of being the guy in Charlotte. I think he'll bring he'll put a lot of butts in seats. That's for sure.
Yeah, and potentially could be in the skills comp or something like that too. I don't know. We'll see. But I think LaMelo Ball, yes, he's super exciting and he has the star qualities about him. But I think he's just a really good basketball player too. So I feel confident that he will be able to make the All-Star game this year. But let's also, put our reputations on the line. Do some award predictions here. We're gonna do all the main awards here. I guess let's start with Rookie of the Year. Who do you got? Because this could be an interesting race.
Yeah. So this one might shock you a little bit. But my Rookie of the Year is going to be Evan Mobley. This guy does a little bit of everything. Sure, he's competing with the 18 other power forwards and centers the Cavs have on their roster, because apparently they haven't been watching the NBA the past 8 years. But Mobley is special. He can do a little bit of everything and is arguably the most NBA ready player of this rookie class. He's got a creative offensive game along with impressive defensive skill set for someone with as much length as he has. And I think for that reason, I think he wins Rookie of the Year.
I like that pick, actually. I think that's a really interesting pick. I do. It's not my pick, but he is a really talented player. Like you said, he plays both ends of the floor at a very high level. Looked pretty good in Summer League too. Unfortunately, though, the two guards there in Cleveland, Darius Garland, Colin Sexton, don't pass the ball very much. So that's kind of where I get a little concerned. But so his scoring might be down from what it could be potentially. But I think Evan Mobley is a really talented player. And I think that was a good pick for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm going to go chalk here and go Cade Cunningham. I was debating to him or Jalen Green. But I feel like Cade, he has the full arsenal, all the tools in his belt. He plays both ends of the floor, great passer. I expect him, he could be a guy who averages 20 a game and 6 assists as a rookie. He can play point guard, the 2, the 3, maybe even the 4. He's 6'8", a fairly good athlete, not great. I think his game is really refined, has a winning pedigree, brought Oklahoma State to the tournament, a team that had no business of being there if he wasn't there. Played at Mount Verde Academy where all 5 of their whole starting lineup, I believe, was drafted that year. So that's pretty freaking crazy as well. But this rookie class is extremely talented. It could be a lot of different people. Jalen Suggs comes to mind maybe with the Magic. Even Scotty Barnes has looked really good with the Raptors. They're a rebuilding team. Maybe he gets a lot of shots too. But I'm going to go Cade Cunningham here. I think he has a great rookie season. I think he's the best player in that class. And I think he's got all the opportunity in the world with the crappy Pistons.
I was going to say that as well. I think the reason he'll average 20 and 7 here is because nobody else is going to. Sure, Jeremy Grant's on the team, but that's Jeremy Grant.
Olympian, gold medal winner, Jeremy Grant.
Process
Say that 3 times fast.
So, anybody that was a process sixer, I kind of looked down a little bit. But listen, Cade Cunningham's a great player. There's a reason he's number 1 overall. I think he's definitely going to be in the conversation for Rookie of the Year, if not win it. Like you said, the stats are going to be up there because he's going to start from day one. He's going to play a lot from day one. The only thing that concerns me a little bit is that he might be used a little bit too much. Hopefully he avoids injury. He does have a bit of injury history with Oklahoma State. So I'm skeptical on that point, but opposite of Evan Mobley, where he's competing with a bunch of playing time with all those guys they have on the roster, quite the opposite for Cade Cunningham. He's not competing for any playing time. He's going to start right away, and as he should.
Yeah, Dwayne Casey, too, the head coach, seems like he has a knack for developing young players, too. Pascal Siakam did win Most Improved Player under him as well. And Fred VanVleet became what he became, too, under Casey. So give the man credit where it's due. Let's do 6th Man of the Year next. Jordan Clarkson, of course, is the reigning 6th Man of the Year. He won that by a landslide. Do you expect a back-to-back year for him?
I could definitely see it happening, but he's not my pick. I'm gonna go with this. This one might shock you, but I'm gonna go with Derrick Rose. My answer was going to be Patty Mills, but I think he'll end up starting now because of the absence of Kyrie Irving this season. I think Rose was fantastic for the Knicks once he was traded there, and obviously he's comfortable in whatever role they have him in because he re-signed with the team this summer. Recently got engaged in Madison Square Garden. That's pretty cool. But with the firepower he brings off the bench, combined with the fact that the Knicks severely overpaid for Evan Fournier, and I think they will. I think that will end up blowing up in their faces. So I think Rose wins Sixth Man of the Year because of that.
You know, I think he either he's a runner-up or he's one of the finalists for Sixth Man of the Year. So he, like you said, you know, he definitely was great with the Knicks last year. And I think he'll definitely have another good year. My concern is that there's a lot of mouths to feed there with the Knicks.
Yeah,
a lot of guards there. So I am curious to see, you know, does he have that same? He could though. I wouldn't doubt it. I'm gonna go Jordan Clarkson though. Again, I will say he goes back to back. I think he is a phenomenal basketball player. His role is very defined in Utah. Yep. I think Utah wins a whole lot of games again. I think Clarkson could average, honestly, over 20 a game next year. He was pretty damn close last year. If you can average 20 a game as a six man, it's pretty hard not to take you as Sixth Man of the Year. So give me Jordan Clarkson. I'll go with him again.
Yeah, and you know, with Clarkson too. I mean, yes, he comes off the bench, but he also plays starter minutes. Let's not forget about that. So he's gonna close out games. He's gonna play a lot of minutes, and there is definitely a potential for him to score 20 points per game. I was gonna put him, but that seemed like a boring pick.
Yeah, it was a little boring. But I'm glad we have parity here. Coach of the Year, though. Again, this is always an award where I feel like 3 or 4 coaches can really win it. Last year, Monty Williams won it again. Usually, you don't win Coach of the Year twice in a row, so it'll probably be somebody different. Who do you think it's going to be?
I'm going to go with Billy Donovan. I think the Bulls are going to be a solid team this year. I don't think they're going to be among the East elite, as I mentioned earlier, but they are going to be maybe what Miami was 2 years ago when they won on that finals run, obviously without the finals run for the Bulls. But no, I don't think Chicago is going on a finals run. But I could definitely see this team avoiding the play-in and being a top 6 team in the East. And I think that makes him a legit Coach of the Year candidate, especially after all the years of suffering that the Bulls have been through with the whole Garpax situation there.
Yeah.
So I think Billy Donovan is a legit Coach of the Year candidate, especially with the roster they have now.
You know what? I thought he should have won Coach of the Year. The year Chris Paul took that team to the finals, or sorry, to the playoffs. Like they were, I think, a 0.2 chance. Yeah, I think he was a runner-up. I don't think he won it though. I think Budenholzer might have won it. I thought Donovan should have won it that year because I thought he did a phenomenal job. His ass was on the hot seat too. Like a lot of people thought he should have been fired, and ends up having a great year. And then Thunder let go of him because they're like, "You're too good of a coach to coach this crappy team that we're about to have next year. We're trading everybody, so you can leave too." So it goes to the Bulls. Again, they weren't great last year, but again, it's hard to judge a coach in his first year, especially when you go to a team like that needs a year to rebuild. Even Monty Williams, his first year at the Suns, they were in the playoff team, and then look at them the next year. So maybe the Bulls can take a big jump, and they can be that team. For me, I'm going to go with the guy who was probably Coach of the Year the last 2 months of the season in the playoffs, and then I think this year he will probably win it. I'm sorry, Matt. I'm going with Nick McMillan to win it for the Atlanta Hawks. I think that the Hawks are going to take a big step forward this year. Like I said, I had John Collins making the All-Star team. I think Trae Young is going to have a phenomenal season as well. They're a really good team. They return just about everybody. Cam Reddish is going to be healthy too. That's a guy. DeAndre Hunter will also be healthy. 2 of those guys weren't. Even Sharif Cooper looking like a steal when they drafted in the second round. He's looked good, and he might even get some minutes this year. So I expect the Hawks to be really good this year, and I think Nate McMillan has done a great job turning this team around. It's funny, Matt, because last year I was talking about how I hated the Hawks, and I thought they're the most overrated team in the league, and now all of a sudden they changed their coach, and they're a completely different team. So I got to give the man credit where it's due.
So all it took is for them to beat the Sixers, and now all of a sudden you're on the Hawks bandwagon.
Hey,
whatever, honey.
Look, everyone was picking against the Hawks, against the Knicks. They killed them. They're lucky. The Knicks were lucky that they played 1.5 good quarters. Otherwise, they would have gotten swept. And the Hawks had one of the best records in the NBA when Nate McMillan took over. And then they beat the Sixers, and they almost beat the Bucks, and got to 6 games. I think they're going to build off that momentum. I expect them to be really good next year.
Well, also in the conference finals last year, Trae Young did get hurt, so that kind of put a damper.
Yeah, and they won a game without him.
Yeah, so I think it kind of put a damper on the series. So, and the fact that they were able to win 6 games against the eventual NBA champions says a lot about Nick McMillan. Obviously, he's a great coach. I think he was wrongfully let go in Indiana.
It's looking like it. Nate Borgen was not the answer.
Oh my God, that guy was
didn't even
horrible.
lasted one season.
Oh my God, he was terrible, and he lost the locker room pretty much right away. But Nate McMillan's a great coach, and I think they love him down there in Atlanta. I just it makes me so sad.
Yeah. Oops.
Anyway,
next up, let's go with most improved player. This is always an interesting one to really hardly predict because again we're betting on a breakout player here, but what does it count? Do you have to be an all-star? Do you just have to take a big jump forward? What is it? There's always a couple guys who have an argument here. Who do you think it's going to be?
Well, I'm double dipping with my De'Aaron Fox praise, which probably means he's going to regress mightily this season. But in all honesty, though, if Fox plays well enough to be an all-star this season and the Kings play up to your prediction, Hunter, you had them being one of your sneaky contenders for the playoff race over there in Sacramento, which is quite bold of you. Then I think Fox will be a great candidate for most improved player, even though you could argue he's a star right now. I think he's going to progress. I think he's going to be, there's a reason the Kings didn't want to include him in any talks with the Sixers for Ben Simmons. It's because he's a legit talent. I think De'Aaron Fox is going to be the most improved player this year.
Yeah. De'Aaron Fox actually was up for this award a few years ago, I believe in his second year. So I'm curious to see, again, like you said, his numbers have been pretty freaking good since he's been in the league. And I feel like people might mask him getting better if he doesn't jump to like 28 a game, which I don't expect him to average 28.
I think honestly with this award, I think they're going to need to see not so much progression from De'Aaron Fox, but progression from the team around him. So I think if the Kings are like an above 500 team, I think that puts them in the conversation thoroughly.
Right, yeah, because I think he's always had great numbers. And, I mean, I did a whole deep dive on the Kings, like you said. So I was looking heavily into De'Aaron Fox. I totally agree. I think he does take a step forward. Like I said, we both think he'll be an all-star this year. I think both of us last year were even making an argument for him too. At the time, I don't think the Kings were like as bad. But again, watch the video if you need to know anything about the Kings from last year and what I think about them this year. But for me, I'm gonna go with Anthony Edwards for the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's someone who could average 25 a game next year who didn't. I think the big thing is how good can the Timberwolves be? Some people think, hey, maybe they could be a team that is on the brink of making the playoffs. Maybe they make the play-in tournament or something like that. I'm not as sure about that. They only won 17 games last season, so they'd have to win they'd probably have to double that to even have a shot, probably even more, to be honest. So I'm not sure they're a playoff team. That's why I didn't have it as an all-star. But I do think he's going to have a phenomenal season. This dude is a freak athlete, and I always talk about it, and people think I'm crazy when I say it. When I was watching film on Anthony Edwards coming out of college, I'm like, this guy does not know how to play basketball. He doesn't understand defenses. This guy clearly was poorly coached. It was all AAU, but he's a freak athlete. He's finally in the NBA now with a proper structure. You saw him really take a huge step forward at the end of his rookie year. He was phenomenal. He was almost damn near impossible to stop. And I think he actually said a turning point was when he actually got a bucket on LeBron, and it gave him all the confidence in the world for a guy who seems to have plenty of it. So he might be the soundbite king MVP of this podcast. I feel like he always says some crazy thing. We're like, yep, that's going to be the clip for this week. But back in the day. So I think Anthony Edwards is definitely going to have a great season. He will be my pick for most improved player.
Yeah, I like Anthony Edwards. I think he's a great player. And like you said, if he's just learning now how to understand basketball, not necessarily learn how to play it, but understand the game and understand defenses, understand, schemes and stuff like that, he's gonna blossom into a great player. And like you said, for most improved, you don't necessarily have to be an all-star. You have to be a player that improves quite mightily, and your team has to improve around you. And I think Anthony Edwards is a great candidate for that.
Yeah, that will be my pick. Now let's go to Defensive Player of the Year. It seems like that Rudy Gobert is going to win it every year, so no matter what we say, we're going to be wrong, Matt. I doubt you picked him, so who do you have?
I have literally anybody not named Rudy Gobert. That's my prediction. Rudy Gobert is a fantastic defender as long as you don't ask him to leave the paint. Once you get that man off the block, he's as vulnerable as most other players in the league. He's a fraud, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. And Ben Simmons deserved it last year. That asshole. I can't stand him, but I still think he deserved it. I don't know. Give me Lou Dort or some shit. I don't know. I think
Lou Dort.
I don't know. Just somebody that's not
torture chamber.
Yeah, welcome to the torture chamber, baby. But anybody that's not Rudy Gobert is going to win this award, hopefully.
Wow, I'm glad you just bet the field. Oddly specific. Actually, just got an update from Woj saying that seems like the Suns and Aiden will not reach a deal for an extension. So It's looking like that he will not get the extension this offseason. Now, again, he's still going to be with the team and stuff like that, but maybe that's an extra motivation for DeAndre Ayton. Maybe staying a little later after practice and stuff like that. We'll see how he performs this season. My defensive player of the year, Matt, I think it's going to shock you. I think of all people, you won't expect me to say this. I'm going to go with Paul George.
Wow.
Yeah. A wing has not won it since, ironically, his teammate Kawhi Leonard. We also saw the Draymond Green, who's not a wing, but a smaller player of stature win it. I think Paul George is going to be asked to do a lot for this Clippers team. Who knows when Kawhi Leonard comes back? He will not be there to start the season. I think Paul George actually has a phenomenal season. I wouldn't put him in most improved player just because, I think he was, in the running for it anyway, and the dude has got MVP votes. So I'm like, that might be a little bold. He probably won't win it. But I think Paul George is going to have a really good season. Therefore, I think the Clippers will have a good season. And I think he's going to be asked to do a lot, especially with no Kawhi Leonard. Now he's going to be the guy guarding the best player on defense. And I think people are going to see the fact that he can score 28 a game and also guard the best player. I think people are going to notice that. We'll see if what he did in the bubble, what he did in the playoffs last year, not in the bubble, because the bubble he was pretty freaking bad. When he was better outside the bubble. He did say, he goes, hey, the bubble messed with me. I'm going to be better. And he was better. So give him credit. For someone like me who likes to bash on Paul George, which is ironic that I think he'll win Defensive Player of the Year this year. I think he'll, whatever the hell the freaking analytics say, I don't care. Give me the guy who can, do it on both ends of the floor. I will go with Paul George as my Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, Paul George, did he win Defensive Player of the Year already? He's never won it, but he's had votes before.
Yeah, right? He's a really good defensive player. I mean, that's why, everyone, loved him because he plays both ends of the floor hard.
Absolutely. And I think, like you said, he has gotten MVP votes before when he was with the Thunder. He was a great player with the Pacers, and now he's a great player again with the Clippers. Had a great postseason last year, especially after Kawhi went down. He really, really stepped up for them. Really carried that team. I think it's a great pick. I do think though, with Kawhi Leonard being out, you said that being the reason that he might get it. I think that might be the reason that works against him because maybe he isn't as great a defender because he is going to have to do a little bit more of everything because Kawhi's not on the floor.
It could work for or against him. We'll see. We'll see how the pendulum swings here. But last but not least, if I'm not mistaken, it is going to be the MVP. And let me just say, this is one of the weirdest years to predict it. Last year, Nikola Jokic won it. I don't think anyone expected that. But a lot of good candidates this year. A lot of things that could work to or against others. Who do you have, Matt?
I've got Lou Dort. I think no, I'm just kidding. I wanted to pick Joel Embiid, but I felt like that was too much of a homer pick. And also with the Sixers, probably not going to be as good this year as they were last year. I'm not going to pick him. I'm going to take Kevin Durant. This might feel a little bit like a chalk pick, but he hasn't won it in a couple years. What else can you say about this man? He's one of the most gifted scorers in the history of the game. He can score from any level, any time, and he is impossible to guard, quite frankly. Combine that with the fact that he plays for one of the best teams in the East and the fact that Kyrie ain't walking through that door. And he feels like a shoo-in, now that he doesn't have, two other of the best scorers in the league. He only has one of the best other scorers in the league. I think that is going to help him step. And I think he was already the leader of that team anyway. When push came to shove, he was the guy getting the last shot in a lot of games last year in the playoffs, especially that Game 7. Looked like a 3, but it wasn't. It only tied the game. He's the guy you want with the ball in his hands, and I think Kevin Durant's the MVP.
Yeah, Kevin Durant, I was very tempted to pick him. The reason why I'm not is, one, I think the Harden thing might still affect him. All right, you play with James Harden. But the main thing is that Kevin Durant doesn't play 82 games, and he doesn't typically play close to it. He misses a lot of time. And that's why I was like, I don't know if they're going to give it to him because, it seems like MVP, like we say, Matt, is a regular season award. That's why, guys like Harden, because Harden always plays almost every game, is always in the conversation because he plays so much. But again, he's going to be on a great team. He's going to win a whole lot of games. So he will definitely be in the conversation for sure. I was tempted to pick Steph Curry because that was my pick last year, and I think the Warriors will be better. And I was like, well, I thought he should have won it last year. How much of a better statistical season is he going to have? There's no way he's better. If anything, it'll just be the same. And that clearly wasn't good enough either. So my pick, it might sound a little boring, maybe shocking. I don't know. I'll see a reaction. I'm going Giannis.
No, he was going to be my pick if it wasn't Kevin Durant.
Really? Okay. Yeah, because I think the Bucks are going to be, again, toward the top of the East. They'll probably have one of the best records in the NBA. We know Giannis does on both ends of the floor. And it's preseason, so I'm not overreacting too much. But Giannis was hitting a lot of freaking jump shots in the preseason.
He's got a jumper, bro.
Yeah, like pull-up jumpers. And he's hitting those turnarounds like Chris Middleton. He's got the hang foot, those fadeaways, fallaways, if you want to call them. I was like, damn, like if he's doing that, like, because he's gotten better as a shooter every year he's been in the NBA, unlike Ben Simmons. Giannis, at least he gets better at it. He's more confident in shot. And we talked about this, I think, last podcast. Giannis doesn't give a fuck. He'll shoot it regardless. Like, he's going to – that fucker's flying no matter what. And so that confidence is why Giannis is as great as he is. I expect him to actually win his MVP, his third MVP, which is pretty damn impressive. And again, a weird season, that's probably going to be freaking like, I don't know. It'll be like goddamn I can't even think of like a random player like who would win it, like a Nikola Jokic, like Damian Lillard or something like that. Like, I don't know. But like some random player will end up winning it. But I'm going to go Giannis here.
Yeah, I think Giannis, like I said, I was going to pick him if it wasn't Kevin Durant. Obviously, he had a fantastic postseason last year. Literally willed that team to an NBA Finals win. Was it? Correct me if I'm wrong. Did he score 50 in the final game?
I think, yeah. Then he got, it was like
legendary performance. He's a legendary guy. I mean, how could you not love Giannis? Even if you were a Suns fan or one of the teams that he played against in the playoff run. I mean, he's an anomaly. He's fantastic to watch. And if he has this jump shot and he starts hitting it consistly, it's over for the league.
He's the best player in the NBA if he has a jump shot. It's not even close. Like Jesus Christ. It's literally the last thing of his game. And again, like it's like he's still, I think he's like 26. Like he's very young. People forget that. He was 18 when he got drafted. Like the dude is still gonna get better. He's like just hitting his prime. Like that's the scary thing about Giannis right now.
That's
younger than Michael Jordan when he won his first, younger than LeBron when he won his first. Just saying. But anyways, though, let's go to our playoff brackets here. We always like to predict the playoffs. Matt, I guess we'll start at the East. I guess you can maybe just give your teams. We'll rebuttal a little bit, and then we can move on to the West.
All right, so I'm going to have my top 10 teams, and then I'll do my playoff predictions as well, my very early playoff predictions. So I'm going to go in the ascending order here. So I'm going to start at 1 and go down to 10. Or maybe I'll do it the other way. I'll do it the other way.
Do what you want.
I'll do 10-1. That seems more fun. So I'm going to do it with the Pacers as the 10 seed. The Hornets is the 9 seed. The Knicks is the 8. Bulls, Hawks. The Hawks are the first team that's not in the play-in. I got Hawks as the 6. Celtics 5. Sixers 4. Heat 3. Nets 2. And Bucks number 1. In the play-in, I'll have the Bulls over the Knicks, the Hornets over the Pacers, and the Knicks over the Hornets. In the quarterfinals of the Bucks over the Knicks, the Nets over the Bulls, the Heat over the Hawks, and the Sixers over Celtics in 7 games. I think home court plays advantage there for the Sixers, despite their horrible playoff history against the Celtics. In the semis, I got the Bucks over the Sixers pretty convincingly. I'll cry about that later. I've got the Nets over the Heat. And then in the conference finals, I got the Bucks over the Nets. Once again, I think it's going to be another tough series. I think that goes 7 again. I just think without Kyrie, if Kyrie never ends up coming back for that team, I think the Bucks are just better all around, and they honestly don't have anybody that's going to stop Giannis. And then that's it for the East.
All right, yeah. I generally agree with that. That's fine. I did not do playing teams, so I'll try to improvise a little bit here. I guess my number 1 seed is also the Milwaukee Bucks, Nets 2. I think those ones can go either way, but I think it's pretty obvious it'll be one of those 2 teams bearing something crazy. I'm a little more bullish on the Hawks, Matt, as you know, so I have them as my 3. I think that what we saw second half of the season and playoffs is more of what they are, so I have them as my 3. Number 4, I have the Miami Heat. I think they made big upgrades this offseason, getting Kyle Lowry, PJ Tucker, guys like that. I expect them – they also had some injuries last year. I expect them to be better, and I think that they will be higher in the standing. I think they were the 5 last year, but I think they'll be a legitimate 4. Number 5, I have the 6. They were 6. That's right. Number 5, I have the Philadelphia 76ers. I think they take a dip because I'm not sure with the whole Ben Simmons thing. It seems like you think so too. So, I'm not really sure. My bold prediction here in the East, I have the Hornets as my 6th seed. I think that they're going to be a lot better than what people think. Every year there's a team that's going to shock everyone and be a lot better. And my Eastern Conference team will be the Charlotte Hornets. I think their offense will be damn near impossible to stop. They got some really good acquisitions this offseason. I think James Borrego is a good head coach. I am going to have the Charlotte Hornets as my number 6 seed. Then we get into the play-in. As my 7, I have the Knicks. I don't feel great about that, to be honest with you. I don't. I actually had them, not in the playoffs. I was like, I don't know. But I'm like, you know what? Like, they're a regular season team, and they did get better. So I think they'll be in the nice 7 seed. And then I have the Celtics at 8. Again, that one, the Celtics would be like the 5, like you said, and they can also be the 8. I have no idea with this team, but I'm like, you know what? Any team. Oh wait, someone got an extension here. Malcolm Brogdon got a $45 million extension for 2 years.
Ew.
Good for him, I guess.
Ew.
Yeah. And then I have Celtics at 8. Again, a team with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Al Horford. I think Dan Schroeder actually was a really good get for them, considering he might have screwed up with the Lakers and every other team. But for the Celtics, that was a pretty good get to get a guy like Dan Schroeder for like a butt naked bare minimum contract. So that will be my 8 seeds. Number 9, I will go with the Bulls. That's kind of my prediction. I don't think they're going to be as good as people think. I like the acquisitions they've made. They will be better. But I'm not sure how they fit together. I don't know if Lonzo Ball is as great of a signing as people are making it out to be. That was Caruso signing was a great sign. I'll tell you, he'll make that team a lot better. But is DeMar DeRozan still that dude? They couldn't even make a push at all. They actually had a worse record when they got Nikola Vucevic, which is interesting. Zach LaVine's a stud. I know that, but is he a winning basketball player? That is yet to be seen. So I think their bench is also kind of bad too. Is Patrick Williams going to be that dude his second year? I don't know. There's a lot of questions there. I'm just not as confident about the Bulls as other people are. I think Vegas has them at 43.5 wins. I would hammer the under. I really just don't believe in this team this year. The 10 seed, I don't fucking know.
Go with the Pacers.
Let's go with I'm gonna go bold here. I'll say the Raptors.
Okay.
You know what? Goran Dragic was actually a pretty solid get for them. They re-signed Gary Trent Jr. They still got Pascal Siakam there, OG Anunoby, Fred VanVleet. Scotty Barnes there as well. I'll go with them as a 10 seed. Why not?
Okay. And now who do you so who's advancing the playoffs here, Hunter?
Advancing playoffs. All right. So the first 8 seeds, I'll say like that's like my 8. Just for argument's sake. I'll go Bucks over the Celtics, Nets over the Knicks. I'll go Hawks over the Hornets, and then I'll go Heat over the Sixers. Second round, I'll go chalk again, probably, unless something crazy happens to the Nets where like I don't know. But other than that, I think the Nets will win. I'm going to pick the Nets to advance to the finals with or without Kyrie. I actually really like their depth. I think scoring-wise, the Bucks actually might have a hard time hanging with them. And also, too, like, you can't expect it to be exactly the same finals every year. I think at that point, Kyrie actually might be back. I don't know. Maybe, like, New York City changes their mandate or something. Kyrie can play again. Like, yeah, I'm back. Like, seems like that's how it always is. Kyrie still ends up back somehow. And I will go with the Brooklyn Nets to make it to the finals.
Okay, I like that. All right, so we'll go over to the Western Conference then.
Yeah, let's do the West.
Okay, I'll go in the same order again. So I'll start from 10 and work my way up. My number 10 seed, this might raise some eyebrows. So I'm going to have the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'll go with them as a 10 seed. 9 seed, Memphis Grizzlies. 8 seed, Portland. 7 seed, the Clippers. This might shock some people. Remember, Kawhi Leonard is out for quite a while. And I just don't think they have. Yes, they won a miracle run of the Western Conference Finals last year, and they competed pretty well with the Suns, but I just don't think they have enough depth on that team to compete with the big boys in the West for a whole regular season without Kawhi. I'm not sure when he's coming back, but I think that's why I have him the 7. I have the Warriors 6. We'll see when Klay Thompson comes back. I think they'll be a solid squad. I have the Mavs at 5. I think Luka's just going to will them to start winning games. I have the Utah Jazz at 4 because I hate them. I have the Phoenix Suns at 3. I get the Denver Nuggets at 2, despite not having Jamal Murray. I think they're a very solid squad. Nobody knows how to guard Nikola Jokic. And Michael Porter Jr., I think, will start living up to that newly signed extension he just signed.
Better if you're the Nuggets.
Yeah, I think they're one of the few teams that could lose a star player like Jamal Murray and then still play good basketball because they have a good team system with Malone there at head coach. And then number 1, I've obviously the Los Angeles Lakers with their new addition of Russell Westbrook, if you will, 15 turnovers per game. But I do like the Lakers, obviously, long term. Any team that has LeBron on it, I mean, you can't doubt them, especially back-to-back years after going. I mean, he's pissed off after losing the first round for the first time in his career last year. So I'm going to take the Lakers as the 1 seed. So in the play-in, I'll have the Clippers over the Blazers. I'll have the Grizzlies over the T-Wolves and the Grizzlies over the Blazers, which might shock some people. They'll get in. In the quarterfinals, I have the Lakers absolutely obliterating the Grizzlies. I have the Nuggets over the Clippers in a tough series again. I think Kawhi could be back at that point, so that could make it a tough series for Denver. I have the Suns over the Warriors, another tough series. I think the Warriors will have Klay Thompson back at that point. So I think there'll be a tough out. And then I'll have the Mavs over the Jazz because the Jazz are not good in the playoffs and the Mavs are super fun. In the semis, I have the Lakers over the Mavs. That'll be a fun series, but I think the Lakers ultimately have too much. And then I have the Nuggets over the Suns. I think Jamal Murray might be back at that point. And if that's the case, I do think they're a better team than Phoenix. I think with Jamal Murray, I think they're a better team. I think Phoenix kind of ran out of magic a little bit at the end of that finals run. And the conference finals have the Lakers over the Nuggets, I think, rather convincingly, honestly. And then so that'll have the Lakers against the Bucks NBA finals. And in my NBA finals, I'm going to take the Lakers over the Bucks in 6. I think it's going to be a very close series. I think it's going to be one of those most star-studded series out there. Obviously, Giannis can match up with LeBron a little bit defensively, but I still think LeBron wins finals MVP in that one.
I have a very different West. I will say that.
Interesting.
This should get interesting. All right. I guess as my honorary bubble teams, I will go with I'll go with the Blazers and the Timberwolves as my honorary bubble seeds. Honestly, I'm not really high on Memphis. I don't know what the hell they did this offseason. I think they kind of I think they shot themselves in the foot, and I'm a little concerned with how they're going to be this year, if I'm being honest. I think trading Valanciunas was a mistake. But anyways, though, we'll go to my West here. I'll go 1 through 8, I guess. Lakers will be my 1 seed. I guess you agree. I think they'll figure it out sooner than people think. Yep. Frank Vogel seems to get them all bought in at some point. So I go them 1. I'll go Phoenix 2. I think people are sleeping on the Suns a little bit. They return more people than anybody, I think, in the NBA this year. And I think they're still going to be a really good team. They have a solid system in place, and I think that their team built for the regular season. Number 3, I'm going to go with the Utah Jazz. I guess similarly, they bring back a lot of people. I think Rudy Gay was a nice signing, as the one guy illustrated in our intro. Maybe he can hit some big shots for them, perhaps. Number 4 is where I think we're differ. I have the Clippers at 4. I think that they have good depth this year. I think with or without Kawhi, they can win games, and I think with Kawhi, they'll even go on more of a run and then close out the regular season on a good note. Number 5, I have the Nuggets. I think that, they might actually struggle a little bit without Murray at first. And if not, I don't think they'll struggle too much anyway, because, again, I have them at the 5, which I think it would be a solid situation there for them. Number 6, I have the Golden State Warriors. I think we were the same there. Nice. I think they'll be better. They figured out how to win without, Klay Thompson there and getting on the defensive side of the ball. Andrew Wiggins can do his thing. They get James Wiseman back, which I think will help anchor the middle there. And then Steph Curry is just going to do Steph Curry things. And I think the way they ended the regular season last year, I think will be more so what they are this year. And again, I had the Warriors not even in the playoffs last year, which I was right about. So there's that. Number 7, I have the Mavericks. This is all not to do with Luka and to do with everything else around them. New head coach in Jason Kidd. What the hell am I getting out of Kristaps Porzingis? I did not really love any of the offseason moves they got. Loved bringing back Tim Hardaway Jr. That was the right thing. What was that? The next best guy they got was like Reggie Bullock. Like, really? What the fuck am I going to work with there? Luka's like, are you serious? So I just don't really like their team. And then, I got the Sacramento Kings. I'm going bougie here. I think that they're going to take a big step forward with or without Luke Walton. We'll see. But I think that they got a lot of nice pieces there. And, at this point, I've kind of dug my own grave, so I got to stick to it.
I can't believe they're bringing Luke Walton back. I can't believe it.
Yeah, that being said, they probably get swept by the Lakers in the first round.
No doubt.
I would take the Suns over the Mavericks, although Luka will probably be phenomenal. Jazz Warriors. This one depends. I think the Warriors win with Klay Thompson and lose without him. That'd be my prediction there.
At that point, they'll have Klay Thompson back, though.
All right, I should restate myself. If Klay Thompson's 80% of what he was, I will go Warriors there.
Okay.
If he's not, I will go Jazz. So for argument's sake, let's get bougie. 6 over 3. Let's go with the Warriors. Clippers Nuggets. That one's tough. I think at full strength, let's just pretend. I'll go Nuggets. Let's go a little interesting. Okay. I like a little drama. Everyone starts questioning Ty Lue a little bit here.
And both teams are missing star players with Kawhi and Jamal Murray out currently, but they could be back for that series.
And also, Nikola Jokic has never lost in the first round either. So that'd be something to look at too. Never lost. Second round can be a little bit of a different story for them. But anyways, though, I think Jokic could actually be in that MVP conversation too, especially if they get like a 2 seed or something like that. Because then you gotta be like, all right, well, shit, now he's gonna have Murray again, and he's still balling out. So then second round, I guess would be Lakers versus the Nuggets. I will go Lakers again. I think they're pretty well equipped. Dwight Howard did a really good job guarding Jokic in the Western Conference Finals 2 years ago. So perhaps it'd be the same thing again. And then we have the Suns and the Jazz.
No, you didn't pick the Jazz.
I guess I'd go.
The Warriors.
Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, I said the Warriors. Sorry. I will go Suns again. And then it'll be an interesting rematch between the Lakers and the Suns here. I guess I'll go Lakers. I think they get their revenge. It's hard because I don't want to say like Lakers, because I'm a Laker fan here. I don't know if they beat them without Kyrie, but if they do have him, I think it'd be an interesting series. I'll just not. Yeah, they would love that. LeBron versus Kyrie. I will just not comment on this one because I probably would end up picking Lakers, but people will accuse me of being biased. Then people will say, "Oh, you're not a true Laker fan if you don't pick them." So I'll say neutral there. But those will be my picks.
Gotcha.
For
okay.
all the way
So
up
pick
to
a
the
Finals
NBA
MVP, and we'll know who you picked.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Frank Vogel. No,
Okay.
Taylor Horton Tucker, give me him. Anyways, though, those are gonna be our picks that we're gonna live and die on, and then we're gonna double down here with our All NBA teams like we always do. Bowl prediction season. We kind of hinted at some of them a little bit here, but Matt, give us your first one.
Ben Simmons does not get traded this season. This is the domino people keep waiting to fall, but it just isn't happening. Simmons has tanked his own value by his play and acting like a prima donna. Morey has stood pat in saying they won't just trade him for the sake of trading him, and they want an all-star in return. And unless Kyrie wants to play for Philly or Dame or Beal finally come to their senses and want out, I don't see him being traded.
You know what, Matt? That's actually the first thing I had on my list too, is that Ben Simmons starts to finishes the year out with the 76ers. I think it's the same damn reasons you said. Daryl Morey is not one to get pushed around. Regardless of people say, I think he's a great general manager. I think he's one of the best in the league. He knows how to build a basketball team, as he's shown. And, I think he's like, I'm not going to trade him for the sake of trading him. His ass is going to be playing no matter what. Or unless he wants to just give us money, that's fine by me. Let the almighty dollar speak for itself out here. So I think that Ben Simmons will, in fact, start the year with the Sixers. Maybe he doesn't play the first couple of games or whatever. I don't know. Maybe they punish him a little slap on the wrist. But I do think he finishes the year with the Sixers. And I think in the offseason, he probably gets traded.
Yeah. That's the exact timeline I have. I mean, we're going to see how the rest of the situation plays out. We're going to see who's going to become unhappy all of a sudden. Who knows? Maybe LeBron gets unhappy with the Lakers and wants to get traded to Philly.
Yeah. Keep talking yourself into that one. Might be disappointed though.
Yeah, but that's my first one. I think it's maybe it's not as bold as I thought for him to stay there the entire year, especially now that he's back with the team, which didn't seem plausible a week ago at this time. So who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we both had the same whole prediction there. So I was like, I guess Matt might think this too then. Other people thinking this? Anyways, though, what is next on your list then?
So I'm going to say Kyrie Irving is back with the Nets in like 3 weeks. So the push is going to come to shove. Kyrie is going to realize the Nets in the city of New York aren't bluffing when they say he will not play without the vaccine. And he eventually gets the shot because he wants to play once he realizes how good Brooklyn is. And once the attention and the hoopla of this situation goes away, once the actual games start, Kyrie's going to be like, wait, what? You forgot to talk about me. And then he's going to come back. I don't know if next maybe he doesn't get the shot. Maybe New York lifts their mandates eventually. But I think he will be back playing with the Nets this time next month. So by November 18th, he'll be back with the Brooklyn Nets.
So you're saying, we're going to be sitting at the Thanksgiving dinner and Kyrie be a talk of the town how he looks?
Pretty much.
Well, I don't really come from a sports family, so that probably won't happen in mine. But probably not. Maybe I'll just be texting you about it or something like you typically do. Anyways, though, I'm going to disagree with that because I think Kyrie Irving is so damn stubborn. I don't know when the hell he's going to come back. I feel like at this point, he's just going to make a point like, I'm not playing. No. It's like telling your kid, like, get in the car. No. Yeah, so I'm not even going to try to touch that subject. I don't freaking know. Beats me. My bold prediction, which I already hinted to a bit, made a whole damn video about it. The Sacramento Kings break their playoff drought that has lasted since 2006, and they make the playoffs. I get a whole video about it. Be sure to check it out if you haven't. It did fairly well on YouTube, at least for me at least. I think I'll lay it out quickly here. I think the Aaron Fox thing's a big step forward. I think that they don't trade Buddy Hield. If they do, they'll trade him for someone better, which will only make them a better team. I think a guy who we both love, Matt, Tyrese Halliburton, takes a huge step forward this season. We all forgot about him because of how great LaMelo Ball and how Anthony Edwards was. But I think Tyrese Halliburton will have a great season next year. I love the Davion Mitchell pick. This was, I think they had the second worst defensive rating ever in the history of basketball last year. Bringing in a guy like Davion Mitchell will only make them a better defensive team. I expect him to really contribute day one. Also a Summer League MVP. So I think he comes in right away and makes an impact. Then they got guys like Harrison Barnes there. They got, Marvin Bagley, who, when healthy, is a solid player. Hasn't lived up to that pick, but he's still a starting player on that team. Another process Sixer himself, Rashawn Holmes, has held down the fort at that center position for them as well. They got Tristan Thompson there, who brings some drama, but maybe can also get some rebounds too. We'll see. I like this team. I like Tyrese Halliburton. I saw an interview of him. I think it came out maybe yesterday, and he was talking about how he likes how they're the underdogs and people are sleeping on him. He's like, I'm telling you, we're gonna shock the world. And that kind of attitude, that type of hungry young team, I'm gonna buy stock into it. I'm gonna try to, I might look like a clown. We'll see. But I'll say the Kings make the playoffs this year.
I like that, Hunter. I like that's perfectly bold for you, Hunter, because you do like to be bold in this podcast, and you've done it before, and you'll do it again. But I do like the Kings. I like them for all the reasons you said. I think Davion Mitchell is probably one of the steals of the draft. I can't believe he fell that far. He's a
winner too. They need a winner on that team.
Absolutely, he was a legit player at Baylor. And obviously, like you said, won Summer League MVP. He's a legit player, and I think he could end up starting at some point or another for this Kings team. Probably not a point guard because that's where De'Aaron Fox plays. But he'll find his way in the starting lineup eventually. If not, he'll be a great bench player for them, along with Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah, like I said, I really do think the Kings are going to be a good team this year. But next up, that was number 2 on my list. What is number 3 on your list, Matt?
So this one might not be as bold, but I think it's pretty bold considering what's been talked about with the NBA landscape over the past couple of months. And I'm going to say the Bucks finished the season with the best record in the league. Everyone's talking about the Nets and the Lakers, and rightfully so. But people are kind of forgetting about the defending champs, which is weird to say. They retained mostly the same roster, minus PJ Tucker. Giannis got even better over the offseason because his jump shot no longer looks like it has about 7 hitches in it. And he's super fun to root for.
So the 10-man link.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like a whole production.
It looks a little more natural. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks a lot more natural. And who doesn't like to root on Giannis? If you don't like to root on Giannis, you're probably not very cool to hang out with. So I think I'm going to put all my eggs in the Bucks basket here, and I'm going to say they're going to win the most regular season games again this year, which has not been very good for them in the past. May I remind you? But I think they will be the best regular season again this year.
Yeah, I can definitely get behind that one, Matt. I had them as my number 1 team in the Eastern Conference too, and so they pretty much beat them to the Lakers at that point. So I definitely could see that happening, where the Bucks, in fact, get the number 1 seed overall in the NBA. Next up on my list, I'll go with this one. This one's a little bougie, I guess. I'm gonna say that, and it's weird because I actually had the Raptors as one of my bubble teams. That was also on the fly. I would say Pascal Siakam gets traded mid-season.
Wow,
that's what I wrote down.
He's on a fat contract. How's
I think
that gonna
work? Well, I think in the event that maybe the Raptors do struggle, or maybe this is a full-on rebuild team, I also think drafting Scotty Barnes, who's a similar player to him, might hint that, like, hey, you know what? We're definitely going to head in that direction of rebuilding. We'll see what Masai Ujiri wants to do. That might lead to Pascal Siakam getting frustrated with the team, which he was frustrated last year, Matt, too. You remember they were suspending him some games because he was flipping out with the coaching staff in the front office about some stuff. So I'm not saying he is a hot temper guy or anything like that, although his nickname is in fact Spicy P, apparently. I think he might get traded. Maybe the Kings make a move for him if they want to trade Buddy Hield and get a nice, or Marvin Bagley, and then maybe they get a really good 4-man there, or they trade Harrison Barnes or something like that. Mm-hmm. Maybe somehow the Simmons gets traded and the Raptors like, look, well, we got Pascal Siakam we can give you. Which is a pretty good asset, and that's probably as good of an asset right now as they'd get for Ben Simmons at the moment. If the Raptors were all in on Ben Simmons, we'll see. But I think there's a chance he gets traded this season. And it might be mid-season too, because the Raptors might be like, you know what? Rather than holding on to him like the Pelicans did with Anthony Davis, we'll just get rid of him now and get the most out of him.
Yeah, I mean that's interesting, Hunter. That'd be interesting to see how the contracts work with that because he is going to be on a pretty fat contract. If he's not on it now, he'll be on it pretty soon. So I'm be interested to see how that money works and what probably end up being like a 3 or 4 team deal. Probably wouldn't be just a straight up deal.
Yeah, there's a good chance for sure.
So that'd be interesting. I like that, Hunter. That's perfectly spicy for me. So my next one is it's my fourth one. So I guess we each have 2 left. I'm going to say Klay Thompson returns to the court and flourishes in the same way he did before his injury. He's going to be the same player, I think. On the surface, this isn't that bold of a statement, but once you realize how much he's truly had to go through and how hard it is to recover from not 1 but 2 significant leg injuries in back-to-back years without even playing in a game in that time, the way he overcomes his feet will become more than impressive, and I think that's why it's bold. I think the Splash Brothers will be back, and they'll be fun again.
Yeah, I think that is a bold prediction because I really don't know how Klay Thompson is going to come back. He had 2 extremely serious back-to-back injuries with the Achilles and the ACL. The good thing is that he's not someone who relies on athleticism to play well. He relies a lot on his ability to shoot from all different assets of the floor. People forget too that he's really good shooting off the dribble as well as he is catch and shooting. Defensively, he's always been a great defensive player, and it's never really been because of athleticism. It's just been because of his size and his ability to just be a dog on the defensive side of the ball and just get after it. He's great on the ball attack kind of defensive player. And I don't expect that effort to change at all either. If anything, he'll be hungrier to be back on the court. I think the Warriors will be smart and handle it well. But yeah, we'll see. I'm definitely rooting for that. I hope that one's true, Matt, because Klay Thompson's a phenomenal player. I want to see him back to what he was.
Absolutely.
Number 4 on my list. I don't know how bold this is. I guess it's kind of bold. I'm going to say the Thunder win more games than the Pelicans. It's a little random. But I'm going to say because they shouldn't. But I think this Thunder team's got some grit to it. I think, like you said, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you have him as an all-star this year. So that means that he's going to have to win some games there. Josh Giddey, while I didn't like the pick, he actually has played pretty well for them and has looked good. And this Thunder team's got a little heart to them. They play hard. And I think the Pelicans, they have a new coach there, Willie Green. I don't know how the hell he's going to do. I don't know. I mean, he was on the bench last year, so I don't know if he's really going to bring that much more to the team. Right. What the hell's Zion's deal? How much time is he going to miss? They also lost a lot of players this year too. Brandon Ingram, unfortunately, while I love him, he's never really shown he can play 82 games in a season, play most of the season. He unfortunately gets hurt a lot. I just don't know with this Pelicans team. I really don't know what I'm going to get out of them this year. And so I think they're going to be a lot worse than people think. And I think Zion's going to grow increasingly frustrated with the team. Maybe Ingram does too, and they both have to get traded. I could totally see that happening.
Me too.
And David Griffin is sadly playing some blues on the piano as he watches his franchise walk away from him and probably his job. So I will say the Thunder win more games, and that's when you realize you might have to start reevaluating some things.
Yeah, I think probably the top of the list for reevaluating things would be why the hell do we have an NBA franchise in New Orleans? Because no one gives a shit here. Literally nobody cares. People showed up for those 3 playoff games they had with Anthony Davis there, and people showed up for Zion's debut. And after that, I mean, nobody cares. Nobody goes to the games. They're not making money for the league. They're not profitable organization, and they're not a good organization either. They're not well run. David Griffin has been as a GM there. They have star players there. They have Zion Williamson. They have Brandon Ingram, but they're just not getting any better. They actually, quite frankly, regressed as a team. So I don't see that as that outlandish. The Thunder are very bad, but the Pelicans are also very bad. They just have more star power in being bad. They make being bad look cooler. Except for Zion Williamson is fat now. So we'll see with that. I honestly don't think either team is very good. You could say the Thunder win more games than the Pelicans, and the Thunder win 27, the Pelicans win 26. So both rosters are very bad. I think the Pelicans are going to once again be disappointing. I could totally see both those players getting traded as well.
Yeah, I don't know. That might not be this season, but I think they'll grow increasingly frustrated with the team. And if the Ben Simmons thing is a trend, Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram can very well follow those footsteps. Matt, I think you're on your last one here, right?
Yep, I'm on my last one.
So I'm going to say to round out the list.
I'm going to say Portland misses the playoffs. As I said earlier, they're going to be in the play-in tournament. They're going to miss the playoffs. Dame asks for a trade at the end of the season. This one might be just be me speaking my wishes into existence, but it's entirely plausible.
And
It is.
specifically go to the 76ers for Ben
Yes.
Simmons straight.
Yes, exactly. No picks involved. But this Blazers team is the exact same squad they trotted out there for a first-round exit a year ago, minus Enes Kanter. This team has made no improvements, which is exactly what Dame asked for over the summer. They lose twice in the play-in tournament this year, I think, according to my picks, and I think they missed the playoffs. And I think, Dame for Ben and picks. Who says no?
Yeah, I didn't even have them, in my playoff seed at all. You have them as your 7. I didn't even have them that far. I think this team is terrible. Damian Lillard's a phenomenal player, and perhaps he just, can single-handedly bring them to the playoffs, which is very well possible. He's pretty much done it every year. But I think the West has gotten a lot better, and the Blazers have gotten a lot worse. Chauncey Billups, his first year as a head coach too, so I have no idea what the hell I'm getting out of him. He's never been a head coach for any team. All he's been doing is basically just talking about basketball on ESPN. So, I don't know. While he's a great player, I'm curious to see how that dynamic works. There's been a lot of trade talk with CJ McCollum. Maybe they trade him or something like that, which makes this team worse. They're just not close to winning. They just have Damian Lillard. That's pretty much it. That's why they are in contention every year, I guess you can say. They're defensively one of the worst teams in the league. And if anything happens to Damian Lillard, they're fucked.
Yep.
So I totally agree with you on this one. Like I said, our seeding has kind of shown. And my bold prediction was that the Bulls don't make the playoffs. As for a lot of the reasons I just laid out, because I just don't know with this team if all those pieces are going to work together. Is the camera? I mean, again, they played well in the preseason. Perhaps they proved me wrong and they are really good. But I think the Eastern Conference mainly is a lot harder this year. We talk about the Knicks as a 4 seed. We both have them as less than a 4 seed this year, or higher. I don't know, whatever. I think, the Nets and the Bucks kind of run that conference. Even the Sixers on an off day, in my opinion, are better than the Bulls. The Heat are going to be better. The Hawks are going to be better. There's always the Celtics in the mix. I like the Hornets a lot. I just think the Eastern Conference is a lot tougher. And the Bulls, weren't very good last year. They won 30 games. I don't expect them to win 45 games this year.
Yeah, and I'm on the opposite side of that spectrum, though, Hunter. I do think that they, you can't get that much star power and be worse off. I think the full offseason of them together, and I do think, maybe, with the short offseason and Billy Donovan being there, getting there in November, and then them starting the season in December, I think it was too quick of a turnaround for him to implement his system and for them to get through to the players and to the organization. But I think this year they'll be a little bit better. So I'm going to disagree with that. I do think the Bulls are a solid team. I don't think they're a top 6 team in the East, but I could definitely see them making the playoffs after a couple wins in the play-in tournament.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm just not as confident with them. I just think that defensively they also might not be very good either, which I think is going to be a huge concern. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna wrap it up here on Ball Don't Lie. Again, you can't have an NBA season without season preview from us here. Obviously we're off doing our own things now. Matt, I know you're working with is it the college radio station is affiliated with them?
Yes.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, I'm technically in radio now too. So, there's that. So yeah, again, we'll see how frequently this can happen or not, but if not, we're going to make sure to put out as much content as we possibly can. So always just be on the lookout for that. Our silly Instagram posts or whatever the hell it may be. And yeah, maybe we'll put again a nice little intro too.
All right. Yep. Sounds
That's
good.
all we got. Yep. Be sure to check out the NBA season tomorrow. It's going to be a good one, despite the fact that it's in NFL season now. Shout out Penn State Sports Night too. They got their show tonight. So always be on the lookout for them. Matt's already repping the merch. We are Mondays.
Yes,
I'm repping LeBron today, but that's okay. I just wanted to, be a part of the festivities. So yeah, thanks for coming on, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.